Patch 12.21 is upon us with some nerfs, some buffs, and some other changes too, as well as the introduction of Cassante, who will be coming out later in this patch. Starting with nerfs, we finally have Bel'Veth with her E getting a 2-second additional cooldown at all ranks, and the minions she creates from her ultimate will now have less maximum health. Next we have Blitzcrank, where they're targeting his support role again. He is losing 20 base health and 4 base armor, which will make him significantly squishier in the early game. In addition, his W is losing 10% attack speed at all ranks, which once again will be felt much more in the early stages of the game. The final nerf goes to Miss Fortune, who has continued to dominate the bot lane role. They're actually increasing the AP ratio on her E's damage and the slow for all those AP Miss Fortune players out there. However, they are reducing the slow from 50% down to 40% at the base level, so it's not quite so brutal to lane against. However, they're also slightly increasing the AP ratio on her ultimate, which will go from 20% up to 25%. Once again, just a nice little change for those AP Miss Fortune players. Coming on to buffs, the first one goes to Ari, where her Q will cost 5 less mana at all ranks, allowing for more frequent use. Also, the AP ratio on her Q is being increased from 40 to 45% to help with her late game damage. Next, we have Corky getting a little bit of love. He will get an additional 4 health per level and 0.3 AD naturally per level. Where this may not sound like much, it is a step in the right direction for him, and as a Sheen user, he does get more out of your baseline AD than most champions. Following this, we have Malzahar with an amazing quality of life change, with his E now executing minions below 15 to 45 health at levels 1 to 11 respectively. This will allow him to push waves out faster, but will also probably guarantee him a good chunk more gold without those pesky minions stealing your money. Next, we see a lot of love being thrown Xin Zhao's way. His passive will now scale even higher with AD as the game goes on, and the heal will now scale with 65% AP rather than 55%. Where the additional AP scaling probably does not mean the return of AP Xin Zhao, this will help his late game damage. Also, a very nice change to the cooldown of his E, where it's changing from 12 seconds down to 11. This gives him a much higher chance of being able to use it twice in a fight, and with it gives him a much higher kill threat. And finally, we have an update for Ornn, but not really. Apparently, the slow in his ultimate should be 40%, then 50%, then 60% as it's leveled. However, a bug has meant that it's always 60%, so they've just made that 60% bug permanent by not changing anything. We also have Cassante coming out in this patch, with Rito giving us a short rundown of what his abilities look like, and I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can check that out for yourself. As a whole, he looks like he's going to be a solid tanky bruiser. His kit giving him maximum health damage, a good amount of CC, as well as damage reduction, all heavily leans towards the top lane role. However, we could still see him as the jungler or support role too. Also, he's got an incredibly fun looking ultimate with a new mechanic in the game where he pushes an enemy champion through terrain all the way out to the other side, which I'm sure will lead to some hilarious plays. Outside of champion updates, we have an update to how remaking the game will work. Instead of having to wait for 3 minutes to be able to remake the game, you will now need to remake the game between 1 minute 30 and 3 minutes, which is a great change in my opinion, as someone coming back later than this having missed multiple waves of minions does put your team pretty far behind. Also, you will now be able to remake in ARAMs and rotating game modes too. And finally, we have tons of new Empyrean skins, which in my opinion look absolutely brilliant, being these bright neon colours, with skins for Cassante, Pyke, Jax, Jhin, Lux, Vex, Zac and Zed.